You know what, when we used to film AFC, I used to try and engineer the results. And one thing I learned is you can't engineer the results in fishing, because when it's your day to win, that's when you're going to win.
It's just fishing.
We have 3.73, fantastic effort. That puts you on the hunt to win this event again.
That's just part of tournament fishing, it's decisions. That's all it comes down to is decisions. And if you make the right one and things go right, you do well. If you don't, you suck, basically.
Kris Hickson is halfway through the 2017 Australian Bream Open tournament. With several anglers ahead of him, Kris is keen to fill his well with some big Hawkesbury bream straight off the racks.
Why do you run the gauntlet? Why the racks?
High risk, high reward, basically. That's just it. Like, you know there's big fish living there. Doesn't mean you're always going to catch them. They might not be in there that day. The reason I chose those racks because it's the closest ones to where I was. Like, wasn't any other reason that I've caught so many giants in there, or it's the perfect structure or anything else. There's heaps of racks in Hawkesbury, but that was close and handy, so I went in there. And when you start getting bit and start seeing them, you don't want to go anywhere because you know it's only one cast away from getting a good fish. Like, you got a good bag in the well, you may as well chase a big girl. So that's what I did. It just didn't quite work.
Oh, no! Why you keep dropping it?
There he is. Here he is. He's got it. Oh, he went around the pole. Oh, shit. Touchy bite. I nearly need to use the crab to get him eaten, probably, I think. Work.
Why do the fish hold up in the racks?
I think it's just structure. There's so much structure in there. There's a lot of food, like you saw the bait flicking around everywhere. There's prawns on the muddy bottom, I guess. Oysters on the poles, mussels on the poles. And there's good cover for them. Like, if it runs through there, there's however many poles you want to count for them to sit behind. So they don't really need to leave. It's easy picking. Swim up to a pole, eat some mussels off it, eat a crab off it, watch a prawn fly up, eat that. You won't have to go anywhere. Just sit there and get big and fat.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Oh. Ah, it fell off. Tail biters. That's a good fish. Gee, kidding me. Not as big as I was hoping anyway. Oh man, oh man, oh man. 24 minutes. It's 10 in.
You'll need a few fish over a kilo then, do you think?
Yeah, I've weighed some big bags here without a fish, like without a big fish at all. Sydney Harbour fish and Hawkesbury fish, especially this time of year, pre-spawn, starting to roll up, get heavy. So yeah, like a good average of 32 to 34 centimetres, like to the fork, is probably going to keep you right up there. If you can throw a kicker in with that, like a big fish, a kegger plus, you'll be looking pretty good, I think.
Kris Hickson, come and join me. What did you weigh yesterday?
I think it was 3.63, a bit less today, I reckon.
You reckon? So it's going to be a bit more with the way you guesstimate bags.
Oh.
It is. See, I told you. 384, round of applause. Great efforts. We are breaking 4 kilos, 404. You have brought me 5. Let's see what they weigh. 3.68 is what we will lock in. Let's hit the button. We are looking at low to mid 2s. 2, 3, 5 is what we will lock in.
Losing that first fish this morning, a good fish, talk us through that.
It was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I was only fishing 3 pound leader, and normally that's plenty on the flats, but it was...
That was a big fish.
It was a good fish. It wasn't a giant, but it was definitely probably bigger than anything I had in the bag. The head shakes were, they were solid. Like, it was a nice one, and I'd say he's just found the weed somewhere along the line, and one of its runs and got a nick on the line and just popped. So I'd sort of set the day up slightly negatively, but catching a couple straight after it was good. But then I pulled the hooks on a couple of good ones as well. So I knew from then on it was going to be one of the days you had to work for them. It wasn't going to be one of the ones where it just happens, so, which I'd much prefer it to just happen. You just go fishing and you hook them and they stay on. But yeah, but other than that, for the rest of the day, I had a fair bit of luck. I didn't lose any until we went in the racks. And that's a gamble every time. You go on the racks, you've got to expect to lose some fish. Like that's, especially those racks, they're nasty. But yeah, I didn't stick any good ones in there, which was a bit disappointing, but I'll try again tomorrow. It's a flathead. Yeah, and the condition, I'm glad I left the flat that we did because they're just skinny. Like there's definitely good fish there, and there was a couple of good bags that came off it, and I was kind of regretting the decision, but in the end, I outfished them anyway, so.
And obviously, it's coming first now. You're poised for a win if you can put it together tomorrow. But still being 3 days, anything can happen, can't it?
Anything can happen, especially on the harbour. Harbour, for one, after a weekend, after a public holiday, and with a cold change, Anzac Day westerly basically coming through, anything can happen in that joint. Look, I think I've caught them there in a couple of places pretty well in these conditions, but yeah, I'm going back on the memory then. Hopefully it doesn't change them too much, but I reckon it will.
What's going to win it? What's the tactic?
You're still gonna need a ripper bag tomorrow. I said 3.5 a day, and I reckon that's probably gonna fall short. 10 kilos, probably under the mark, I reckon. Yeah, for a total weight. So another 3.6, 3.8 tomorrow, and I'll be happy but not confident. 4 kegs, I'll be pretty confident you'll get there. A little bit of nerve starting to creep in, but it's a pretty big deal, this one. I think the fact that this weather's changed a little bit, we've got a filthy westerly blowing, so it's completely different to the last couple of days. The weather's, it's clear skies, but cold and fairly windy, and it's meant to really get windy later on, so just not fishing the harbour a lot and knowing exactly what the fish are going to do in those conditions, whereas a few of the guys right behind me do. Look at that wind. Yeah, that's a big tide from last night. Look at that, it was on top of the boat ramp. That's never a good thing either. They normally eat of a night time on big tides, so hopefully the night will fill up. Should have brought the moisturiser out today. It's going to be a bit dry. It's not as, the weather's not as windy as I thought. There's a bit of breeze coming down the river itself, but down the bottom of the harbour here is actually not a lot, so always puts you in two minds when you have half a plan of where to go and then it changes when you get to the start. But I think I'm going to stick to my guns and go all out. There's only one way you're going to win it today, and that's having a crack, so we might as well have a crack. Fish it normal and then sort of figure out how to get them afterward. Normally a burn and kill. Just sort of fish it as you would, and then when you finish your retrieve, instead of just wind it in, one fast stop, wait, do it again. If they don't eat it, wind back in, have another go. Sometimes it stirs them up.
you'd get a bit nervous, surely, before a tournament. I mean, there's reputation on the line, a few bucks.
That's probably the one thing that that you get nervous or that you think about the most is that a little bit of expectation. But no, as far as nerves go, I definitely don't get as nervous as I used to. When I started, what was it, nearly 15 years ago now, every briefing, every tournament you turn up to, I didn't know anyone. It was, this big deal. But now I've been around the traps a while, so the nerves kind of don't come until the first cast of a morning, really. So, but no, you just learn to manage it more than anything. You always get that little bit of a feeling, but just roll with it. Yeah.
It's not hard to see why Kris is Australia's finest bream angler. His speed, technique and precision when targeting bream really is next level. But one thing that stands out the most for such a competitive angler is just how relaxed and comfortable he is with this type of fishing. He never takes himself too seriously and seems to always be having fun. Perhaps this is his secret.
The pressure you do feel, at what point do you generally feel it the most throughout a tournament? Is it right at the beginning or is it at the end and you haven't caught the fish you want to catch?
I reckon the nerves come in at the start more than anything. The first few casts, you just like, am I making the right call to start with? Because the first spot is, a lot of the time it lines your day up, it sets your whole day up. If you catch them early, you get them at that first couple of spots, especially if you're expecting to get them there. That's when I get a little bit nervous, especially if you don't catch them. But then, yeah, you get to the end of the day, if I haven't caught them by then it's just not too much nerves, just a bit of pressure. Yeah, it's the same as any sport. It's more the pressure on yourself than anyone else. Like, everyone has a bad day, but in your mind, you know you can do it. Like, you've done it 1,000 times. It's just why am I not doing it? So, yeah, a little bit of nerve comes in then. It's so much bigger than what I have.
It's the final hour of the 2017 Bream Australian Open, and Kris Hickson has just landed his biggest fish for the day, but with a few anglers still ahead of him, he's not overly happy with the size. As the cold Anzac Day westerly change looms, Kris pitches his final cast before heading back to the weigh station to find out how he is placed in the tournament.
mate. How did you go today?
Look, you know, these competitions you have your ups and downs. Had a pretty rough morning. Lost a fish. It died on me. It sucked the lure that far down. That was the problem this weekend. They're sucking them too far down, and the lure's gone completely. So I lost him in about 40 minutes, and he was my biggest fish of the day too. So that really put a dampener on the day. But end up soldiering on like we do, and got my 5 and a few upgrades, but nothing that's going to win it. You don't think? I don't think so.
3, 4, 2. Round of applause for 10. Next up is Ross Canizaro. Day 1, 3.63. Then he had a 3.68. Currently he has 7.31.
But unfortunately, one of them didn't make it today. I had a crabby that went straight down his gullet, all the way in his stomach, and he just started bleeding, and it was like a kilo fish. Probably, it wouldn't have made the difference, but it was enough to really make me a little bit tired for the rest of the day. But I put it together, and that's what we do. We soldier on, and we keep going.
All right, I'm going to grab these fish off Steve. They need to weigh 3.65. He has brought me 3.31. Round of applause for Ross. 2.14.
Chucking straight over to the mooring block and then just bouncing it all the way back, and yeah, it's fun.
And you're leading the open. Woohoo! Well done, mate. 9.82 kilos there by Rich. Thank you, Steve. Good. Had a great day. You mentioned a great line there, and it's one that you and I have said for many times. If you think you're not going to be able to get to Middle Harbour because it's too rough, that's the time to go.
Yeah, you betcha. And that wind didn't really pick up until about 10 o'clock. I think anyone watching on the live stream, I'm sitting on donuts the whole way through, and then in half an hour I got real healthy real quick, so it was good.
Let's grab that bag of fish. He's spot on. We have 4.18. Round of applause. Again. Fantastic bag. There you go, mate. We have one more angler to go. And of course that is Kris Hickson. Morgan, have you had a look at his bag? What's he got?
Yeah, well, he reckons, I haven't even got 3 kilos, which means at least 3.5, I reckon. We know what he's like.
We see that every tournament when he hits the stage.
I can imagine Kris Hickson's report card at school, maths, F, fishing A plus. Guessing weights, fail plus.
All right, Kris, let's get you up here. Leave your bag of fish there.
I'll tell you what, it's pretty scary having this man as the last man up on stage. He's got some kudos on this place.
5 fish on day 1 for 3.73, Kris. Yesterday you upped it to 3.84. Today you have 5.
Yep, we got 5, and it's the smallest sack of the lot.
Really? What do you think it's going to weigh?
Oh, I've got no idea. I really don't. There's a couple of pretty small ones in there. There's a couple of okay fish. Like, there's 2 in there that I'd be happy with in a bag normally, and there's 3 that I was trying to get rid of pretty much all day. So just have one of those days. Actually, one of those weeks. I've had a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of drop fish. A lot of busted, like fish that have busted me off. Had finally 2 really good bites and 2 really good fish on today, and both of them got me around a pole. So, when it's your time, and I think it's Morgo's time this weekend.
Right, mate, I can tell you need 3.39 to grab the lead and win this event. Warren Carter, I'll get you to be the deliverer of the bag.
I reckon I'm 1 fish short.
Could be one of those 12 that you lost on the first day when you got drilled.
Yeah, one of 10 yesterday.
What does he need?
3.39. You ready, lads?
3-2.
Holy shit! Wow. That is the closest finish you can get. 10 grams. It was one of those many fish that you got drilled by.
That's brutal. Ross, I know how you feel.
All right, let's...
I think we've actually talked about this on camera a good half a dozen times this weekend, how one little thing, a fish that dies, a fish that you miss, 10 grams, a bit of extra weight on a condition on a fish is the telling tale, and yeah, this is about the 3rd time that's happened to me now.
All right,
cheers, mate.
Folks, round of applause to Kris Hickson. Fantastic effort. Just fell shy. Wow, what a nail-biter to finish.
I was talking to Mark Berg, who's filming this for the next level stuff, and I said, you cannot do this.
I love Sydney! 384, 315, 273 and 274.
Congratulations, but 10 grams.
10 whole grams, a massive brim poo.
How are you feeling right now?
Happy and disappointed at the same time. Yeah, a bit mixed emotions. More disappointed in myself for not fishing a bit better. It Had every chance of doing it pretty easy this weekend and didn't convert. So, but that's fishing. You do convert those, you do it easy, you don't, you come second by 10 grams.
Well, it doesn't get much closer than that. To miss out by 10 grams is certainly frustrating, but in true Kris Hickson fashion, he takes it with a smile. Either way, it is still such a privilege to sit next to Australia's finest bream angler and observe his technique in a competitive environment. His casts are fast, he lands fish faster. He always has a plan and never hesitates to execute it. His passion for the sport shines through no matter what the arena presents. It's a passion that only an angler understands.